Shalom friends, this is Daniel with Bless Israel Network, and this is a special video that we are doing. Devorah and I are currently just outside Vienna, Austria, in the heart of what used to be known as Nazi country. And we've had an opportunity to visit a very special town. I'm going to mispronounce it, but it's called Wiener Neustradt. I'm mispronouncing it. You see the name on the screen. But we have some wonderful friends here, the Ghetto family, and they have invited us, and they have shared with us some of the history of what happened here in this town. And you're going to see some video clips after this opening here that I'm going to explain a little bit to you. But essentially, Jewish life, as we know it, came to a halt in 1938 after centuries of Jewish life here in this town. On the night of November 10th, 1938, which is known as Kristallnacht, and you see that on the screen, which literally means the night of broken glass, the Nazis just simply rounded up all the Jews and began their horrible campaign. And in Austria there were over 220,000 Jews, and of that 220,000, 180,000 plus were deported to various places, including concentration camps, etc. And 65,000 of them did not survive the Holocaust. So we will be visiting a special section of this town, which was where the Jewish population lived, and you'll see some rather remarkable things. A couple of things to note that are important. This town is still almost completely Catholic, as it was and has been for centuries. There's not a Protestant church anywhere in this town, and there is no Jewish synagogue either. You'll see a photograph, and I'm going to show you. There was one Jewish synagogue here in this town, and here's a look at what it looked like before it was destroyed. And in the video clips we will show you that what is in its place now, and the friends that we have here who are Jewish believers are starting something which is, we are just praying for it, because they are beginning to get interest. People are beginning to get interested based on their efforts in Israel and Messianic Jewish life. These are Christians, and so they are initiating something which we hope bears some good fruit. We're going to have an opportunity to meet with them and share with them about our ministry and Israel and Messianic Judaism. And we're very excited, and we hope and pray that their effort is going to pay off, and there's going to be a spark that turns into a flame, and there's going to be a revival in this town, and people are going to remember and respect and honor the Jewish people once again. And so we hope that you enjoy the clips that you see, some pretty serious stuff, including the inside of the one major Catholic church here in the town, where there are renditions of art on the wall that show some pretty horrific things as far as the Jews are concerned, and you'll see that when you see the clip from inside the church. So that's all for now, but we'll close in a while after the clips that you see. I'll be back later on. Well, shalom friends, this is Daniel
and Devorah,
and we are in Vienna, Austria right now with our dear friend Sandra, who is right over here. Sandra, say hello.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Yes, she and her family are hosting us while we're coming here to this very special city. And the name of the city again that we're in?
Wiener Neustradt.
Wiener Neustradt. It's New Vienna.
New
so it's
Vienna.
outside Vienna about...
It was a door before Vienna.
So it's the door before Vienna.
It was the door
Before Vienna.
The door before Vienna. So right now we are standing in a special place that has a lot of significance in Jewish history. You see behind me, okay, there's a tower, and you see that wall, okay? This actually, we're standing in what used to be a Jewish ghetto. And that wall behind us right there is the outer wall of the ghetto. And you came through the archway there, you see, and then I'm going to turn around and you see behind me, okay, what is now, what was rather, the inner wall of the ghetto. So this is very significant Jewish history, and we need never forget about what the Jewish people have gone through. Here is physical evidence right in front of your face about some of the difficulties that they had to endure for many, many centuries. So turning back around here, and there's also a doorway there, and they have the names of many of the Jews who perished in a special place inside there. It's closed right now, we cannot go in. And now you see behind me up there where on the walls the guards would be if the city was under attack, okay? And this was here actually before it became the ghetto. The residents were protecting themselves in case they were attacked, but ultimately it became a living prison for the Jewish people. And now I'm standing outside the archway. You see through the archway, that's where I was a moment ago, on the inside. And this is the outside view of the wall itself, the outer wall. So you can see behind me, and this is right in the middle of this old Austrian town. It's a lovely setting, sad history. So you see this building behind me, okay? This is a building which housed many, many Jewish families, and quite a number of them were deported simply because they were Jewish. And in a moment I will walk over and I will show you a plaque markers actually that are permanently put in the sidewalk in remembrance of the names of the Jewish families that used to live in that building and were deported. And right now you're looking at the marker on the sidewalk, the names of the family names of the Jews who were deported from here. So right there you see this family was deported to Auschwitz.
One of them was.
Yes.
We don't know the others.
Yes. But again, more markers of Jews. And we all know what happened to them. So we're moving on a little bit, but if you see behind me, okay, let me see if I can focus a little bit better. You see the wall in the background, it's still part of the same wall, the outer wall of what became a ghetto for the Jewish people. We also found out that in that same building where the Jewish people who lived that were deported, they say several centuries earlier, there was a likelihood it was a Jewish yeshiva. In fact, some think it was the largest Jewish yeshiva in all of Europe. And now behind me, this very modern glass structure, which you see, used to be a Jewish synagogue, and it was destroyed in 1938. Somewhere between 700 and 900 Jews used to attend this synagogue, but now, of course, it's been permanently erased. And this is what...
So it's the side to the left that used to be the synagogue. So only the white part, the glass part, was added on later.
Okay.
And they destroyed it in 1938.
Yeah.
But Jews had been here since 1817, right? Yeah. And so we're in the Jewish community now. The Jews have returned here. But it's very tragic what happened here.
And now, if you can see behind me, there's a wall. There's nothing remarkable about the wall. It's a modern structure. However, on the other side of that wall that I'm standing in front of is where the actual synagogue used to exist. And now our friends who live here, they come to this very building, they come into this very room, and they celebrate Shabbat in this very room.
Well, this room where we are, it's very small, was part of the ancient synagogue, which we were just talking about, that was here since 1817 and until 1935 when the Nazis, or 1938 when the Nazis destroyed it.
So Tikkun is happening
Tikkun
here.
Olam is happening.
Tikkun is happening.
Wiener-
Tikkun means repair of the world.
Wiener
Tikkun Olam.
Neustradt. In Wiener Neustradt, the new Vienna, there is a Tikkun Olam happening because of our friends, the Gottwalds, Jakob,
And this wonderful
and
woman you see
Sandra,
right here, Sandra.
and Oliver Gottwald, who have the basic beginnings of a Messianic synagogue here.
This is unheard of in this
Wonderful.
part of Europe. It's unheard of.
And it will bless the people of the city, even though they maybe don't know. And this is a Jewish community, so we need to pray that they have a revelation of their Messiah.
From the ashes.
Amen.
From the ashes. Okay, now we are in the main foyer of the building that we were just in, where we showed you the room. The main foyer here is multi-level, and what's very interesting about this is that businesses, they wanted to populate this structure with businesses.
They did. They actually
yeah.
did for a while.
Right, but they failed.
All the businesses failed.
And it's quite interesting when you think about the fact that this once used to be a holy temple, okay, synagogue, and that we have some young people here in the background that just can't resist being on camera. So little do they know where it's going to be shown. But in any case, it's very interesting that the businesses failed. So you can attach your own significance to that.
And the people say that if you're on the other side of the street, you're blessed. If you're on this side of the street, you're not. So we are praying. We are going to pray that this is given back to the Gottwalds to have an actual synagogue. There's room to have a yeshiva upstairs and rooms for the people to come who would come to this future yeshiva. We're going to pray, and we ask you to join us, that a new synagogue and a new yeshiva will replace what was stolen from the Jewish people. Of course, it will be Messianic, centered on Yeshua HaMashiach.
Amen. So now behind me, you see the extension of that original outer wall that I showed you earlier, and it comes all the way down to here. And as evidence of the Christian Crusades, here you have a church. So history that many people would like to wish did not happen. So right now we are inside the church, okay, and you can see how ornate it is. Show you a little bit more. Pan around. This is a church that goes back to the 1200s, which of course is when the Crusades were taking place. Very ornate, very European. And we haven't seen any yet, but we've been told that they have some artwork somewhere here in the church which actually shows renditions of Jews eating pork. Give you an idea of, the degree of anti-Semitism that existed in the days that this church was constructed. And as far as we've been told, Jews today in this city still are not allowed to own businesses. This town was completely cleansed of Jews. A little bit of a closer view. So what you're looking at here is artwork that's on the wall, and all these people who have their necks inside that roped area, you see that they're being spit out of the mouth of the pig, and so they are all considered by the church to be unholy. And right in the middle is a Jew wearing a kippah. So next to that is yet another rendition, and you see the bishop holding the rod, okay, and behind him are people, including Jews. You see the kippah, and they are also considered unholy people. And the question is, are they being led to the slaughter, or are they being led to the opportunity to convert or die? We don't know, but clearly this is a representation of people that they considered to be unholy. And here you see what may be a familiar symbol. Illuminati. And now just coming outside the church, and there you see something dedicated to the many, many crusaders. Protecting the church, okay? Protecting the church. And in our honor, maybe, the bells are going off. Actually, it's just the clock tower. And now we are outside the church, obviously, and this entire section of town all around me, I'll just kind of pan around. This is all what was the Jewish section of the town, which was completely stripped of them by the church. And then you come upon this rather ironic pole over here, and if you can see what it says, tolerance. Tolerance. How ironic.
So the street you see behind us was all, again, part of the Jewish community. And this building right here with the kind of gold frames around the windows was a place where a Jewish family sold clothing. And it was also a source of transportation for the children. And the church confiscated this, the Catholic Church. And then all what you see behind, all these buildings, now they were all confiscated, and now there are Austrian families who own them. So again, just more tragedy in the history here, and yet we have hope because we have our Mashiach, we have the Gottwalds who are influencing a small group, about 20 people who are interested in Messianic Judaism. And there is a flicker, more than a flicker, I would say, a flame of hope and resurrection here in Wiener Neustradt. Wiener Neustradt.
Okay, so now we're moving further along, and you see this building behind me. Okay, all along the exterior of this building were Nazi flags that hung during the era of the reign of Hitler and the Nazi Party. And this whole section here, all that you see behind me again, was all the Jewish section, and they were all kicked out, killed, deported, or what have you. And once again, we find another marker of a Jew who was deported, and in this case, Auschwitz was his destination. Yet more markers of Jewish families who were deported. Again, moving around, you see everything behind me. It's a beautiful square. Outdoor seating areas, cafes, shops, and again, this was all populated by Jews who were deported.
And evidence that the people here of this city say that if you live on this side, when we were back in the synagogue, I up so high, honey, back on the synagogue, or what we pray will be a new synagogue, they said people say on that side of the street it's not blessed. On the side we're on, and the whole section of the Jewish community, this is all blessed. And I just pray that one day all these people here will come to know that the reason it's blessed is because it's Jewish ground.
Just a quiet little street scene from this quaint little town. Such a tragic history, but with the help of God Almighty, from the ashes will rise the Spirit of God again. Okay, behind me you see a plaque on the wall, okay, and it explains about the history of the stones that are on this street. These stones apparently were carved and made up by Jews in the Mauthausen concentration camp, and after the Jews made the stones were all brought here and laid down to make up this entire street that you see behind me. Okay, every single stone, and I'm going to turn around because it goes from end to end. Okay, all of the stones made by Jews in a concentration camp. Well, shalom friends. I wanted to bring you now an update. You remember at the beginning I told you that we were going to be given the opportunity to meet with some of the local people here and speak to them about Messianic Judaism, about Jewish roots, Israel, our ministry, and what have you. And we did have the opportunity to meet with them, and it was incredible. These are people who have family members that have grown up here, steeped deep in the roots of Catholicism, the church, Austrian, German history, and it's really incredible. They are so hungry because so much of what they have been taught, they have come to find out, just doesn't line up with biblical truth. I was speaking to one woman, for example, who told me she was so committed to be a godly woman. She spent time in a monastery, and she found out her mother is Jewish, and her mother is ashamed and fearful of admitting that she's Jewish because of the persecution. And so her mother lives in fear and doesn't want to share anything about it with anyone. She was even reluctant to share it with her own daughter. So, and we had a chance to talk a little more, and I made a couple of casual comments, such as, did you know about who they call Apostle Paul, whose real name is Saul, Shaul, that his name did not get changed in the book of Acts chapter 9, which is typically called Saul's conversion. Okay, and I said, read Acts chapter 9. You will not find a single sentence that says his name got changed. And she opened her eyes. She said, what? This didn't happen? I said, no, it didn't happen in Acts chapter 9, Acts chapter 10, Acts chapter 11. At one point, I think it might be in Acts chapter 12, it simply says, Saul, who was also known as Paul. And so this is just an example. Another woman, she was so passionate about giving Jews who survived the Holocaust, who are still living here, an opportunity to connect with each other, because they're not connected. They have no network, and they live in fear because they're still isolated, and there's still such a strong spirit in this town. Which presents fear to people who want to know about the Jewish roots of their faith. And you know, the church has had such an influence on things here. So we had a wonderful opportunity. We presented the ministry, and people were applauding when we spoke about the ministry. And it's just wonderful, this brand new spirit which is emerging here. Started by our friends, the Gottwalds. And we hope to have an opportunity to come back, and we hope that if we do, the next time we come back, that there'll be twice as many people that we'll have a chance to connect with as we did this time. But it's such a wonderful blessing to see these Christians, and some of them actually have acknowledged and found out that they're Jewish. Before I started to speak, I asked two questions, one of which is how many speak and understand English, about half of them. And then I said, how many of you found out or know that you are actually Jewish? And a few people kind of, you know, timidly sort of started to put their hand up. And one of the people, turns out, is the stepmother of our friend right here. And she didn't even know that she was Jewish. This was a revelation to her. So some new doors have been opened while we're here, and we're going to have some more opportunities, I think, to meet with them. But for now, I just wanted to close with this very upbeat progress report of our meeting with them. And we pray that this little film that we put together of our experience in the Jewish section of Wiener Neustradt, still may not be pronouncing it right, but that it's something that blesses you. And once again, we are completely dependent on donations from blessed followers of our ministry. So if this touches you, and we hope it does, please go to our website and consider making a donation to support our ministry, so we can make more trips like this, and we can bring wonderful stories and accountings to you, and give us the resources to be able to go back and bless the wonderful Messianics in Israel and connect them with the body of believers such as there are now. We're beginning to find out here in this former Nazi stronghold in Austria. God bless for now.